excuse. You may. Now, this is case number 577 on the calendar in the matter of Valdez Park versus Duran. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Who used to be married to this defendant?
I was.
Your name is?
Michael Valdez, ma'am.
Mr. Valdez, Mr. Parks is your domestic partner.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? And according to your complaint, you and the defendant were divorced 7 or 9 years ago?
9 years ago, ma'am.
You had 2 children together.
Yes.
And the divorce granted you custody of your 2 children, who you have raised since that time.
Yes.
It is your claim that your former wife, because she is not happy with your lifestyle, has called in a series of false reports to Child Protective Services, and you want to be compensated for that harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition, she forged your name to a housing application, and she indicated that one of the children who was in your custody, because you don't have any other children, is that right?
I have a little girl, but she's in Virginia right now.
Well, you don't have any other children
No,
with him?
just gave me.
And she needed to have some child that was in her care in order to get an apartment, so she forged your name to an application that indicated that your son was in fact living with her.
Yes.
Ms. Duran said that you knew that she was going to forge your name. That's number 1. And number 2, she called Child Protective Services, which she has an absolute right to do because she was concerned for her children. That's your defense.
Yes, it is.
Okay. How long did you live together?
6 years.
How old are your children?
15 and 11.
How old were they when you were divorced?
Michael was 3 and Gabrielle was 7.
Was it a contested divorce with regard to the issue of custody?
No, ma'am.
You have what kind of problem, Ms. Duran?
Well, the only reason why he got custody is because I made a mistake and signed a piece of paper giving him custody because of the things that he told me. He told me he could get more benefits from the VA for our children at the time.
Ms. Duran, listen to me very carefully, madam. You have another child?
Yes, I do.
Child doesn't live with you?
No.
There's a reason for that. There is a reason that you have 3 children and none of them live with you. So you want to tell me what that reason is?
Yeah, the one reason, because the 2 kids from him is because I made a mistake and signed a piece of paper. The second one was I was in an abusive relationship and left the state of Virginia with my child to take care of her.
So what you're telling me is it's somebody else's fault that you don't have custody of your 3 children. Is that what you're telling me?
It's my fault because I left the state of Virginia.
Somebody else's fault because you were in an abusive relationship, because he told you something that was not true. That's why you don't have custody of your children. You ever been in drug rehab program?
No, I haven't.
Do you need one?
No, I don't.
Have you ever been drug tested?
Yes, I have.
By a court?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever had a positive drug test by a court? When was the last time you had a positive drug test by a court?
A year ago.
And what was it positive for?
Marijuana.
Anything else?
No.
When was the first time you were drug tested?
A year ago.
That was the only time you were ever drug tested by a court?
Yes.
In conjunction with what? Your custody, visitation, what?
It had nothing to do with that.
You mean you just went to court to be drug tested?
I called DCFS because of the things that they were doing to my son.
What kind of a report did you make to Child Protective Services?
I went and I told them what my son and my niece told me. My son told me that Ryan was walking around the house with his pants hanging clear down the front where he can see everything. And he was showing him tattoos of his neck and men on the back of his back, and about just him being around that situation. I didn't think it was right.
How long has your former husband been living with Mr. Parks?
About a year and a half, maybe.
How long?
3 years, ma'am.
How often do you visit with your children?
Well, before Ryan came in...
Do you have a court order of visitation?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because we never had no problems until Ryan came in the picture.
Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am. I was previously married after Miss Duran, and the same thing was going on with my second ex-wife also. It was very difficult for visitation. She would say she was going to come. The kids would get all excited and be ready to visit, and she wouldn't show up, or she would show up hours later, and the kids would be upset. So we'd make alternate plans and take them bowling or something to get their minds off of the situation. So.
Why was there never a court order of visitation, Mr. Valdez?
At the time, the judge just said that that would be something that you guys deal with at a later time through court.
Do you have a copy of the judgment of divorce?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please.
So at the time, the judge just said visitation was at my discretion.
When was the last time you paid child support?
We didn't have no set time when I was supposed to pay, but I bought my children stuff.
So
And they
are you
would
telling me
take
that
the-
in the 9 years that he's had custody of the children, you've never paid
Oh,
child
yeah, I
support?
paid.
Well, that's
it.
what I want to know. How
Yeah.
much have you paid in child support?
I don't know exactly how much I paid, but he went to ORIS a year ago, Ryan did, and told them that I didn't pay child support for a year, which is a total lie, because I gave him my kids stuff and I bought them stuff.
Giving
and that
your
was
kids
the agreement
stuff,
between
Tisha,
us two.
shh. Giving your kids stuff and buying them things is not child support. I'm talking about every week send them $75, $100, $150. And if your answer is, I don't send my children regular child support and I have never done that, then that's what you answer me. Don't
Well,
tell me
okay
you
then,
send them
my
clothes.
Okay, well, my answer is I don't have a document, but yes, they were garnishing my checks
So when was the last time that
I
you
would
paid
say
child
about-
support?
6 months ago.
But let's say that's true. Why haven't you paid child support in 6 months?
I haven't talked to these guys because they give me a hard time seeing my kids. I meet my daughter at the mall and I go buy her what she needs, take her to eat and stuff, and that's what I've been doing.
That's neglect.
How could it be neglect?
That's neglect. When you
How?
don't support your children.
Michael Valdez and his boyfriend Ryan Park claim Michael's ex-wife, Marie Duran, filed false charges with Child Protective Services. Michael also says Marie is a deadbeat mom.
How much money have you received from the defendant since you've had custody of the children?
Approximately, in the last 9 years, only like $2,000.
And did you receive that as a result of income deduction orders?
Yes, and income tax. They held their income tax.
Is there currently a child support order?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see the order, please?
We went to court and I agreed to go below the state standard for the child support.
$207 a month is what you're supposed to be paying. For one child or both?
That's for both. At one time, ma'am, I waived over $12,000 in arrears for her so that she could get a fresh start. And again, she's over $5,000 in arrears again.
Yeah, when I got my settlement, because you wanted half of that, and I gave that to you.
I didn't receive anything.
Yeah,
Half your settlement for what?
I got in a car accident, and he went to ORS, and he signed off on child support, what I owed him, and gave him half of my settlement, so he could have cash
much
for
did
the
you give
kids.
him?
I got 13. I think I gave him like about 8,000.
You got 13, you gave him more than half.
Yeah,
Show me.
I don't have nothing to show you.
He says he didn't get it. He didn't get
I know he
$8,000.
didn't.
Did you
Yeah,
get
he said a lot of
$8,000?
No,
things.
ma'am, I have never received a check from her for that. That was the agreement, yes. When she got her settlement, yes, she would give me half of it, but I never did. I didn't
Yes,
even know
you
she
did.
got the settlement.
You did too.
Listen, I want you to tell me about the false paper she filled out for Housing Authority.
I received a phone call from Ms. Duran saying that I want you to write a letter saying that our son Michael lives with her so that she can receive assistance through housing. And I told her, no, I would not do that because not only is that fraud, but as soon as I did that, you would come and pick him up and take him. So I said, no, I would not do that.
Very smart.
And that's not true anyway.
Did you forge his name to a document?
No, he signed it.
Show me. Show me.
I don't have anything to show you. I wasn't even on housing when Michael was there. I'm not
see it,
on
please?
housing now.
There it is, ma'am.
When that happened right there in August, he promised Michael that he would let Michael come live with me because Michael wants to. These two keep me away from him because they know how much he wants to be there. The cops got involved in everything, and he was there in August.
Madam, this is not Mr. Valdez's signature.
Well, he wrote it. He wrote that. And that's not my signature. He wrote that. And he
I don't know. Maybe it's her signature. Who's that?
That's my sister. Why don't
Right,
you
maybe
let
it's
her
her,
sign it and see?
maybe it's her signature, but it's certainly not his signature. I don't know who signed it. Your boyfriend signed it. Your priest signed it. I don't know who signed it, but he didn't sign it. He didn't sign it. It's not his signature.
He brought it over to our apartments where I live and faxed it from the office.
Show me. Show
Well,
me.
he's got, wow. It's right
Show
there.
me. Show me. What do you have in front of you? You must.
I have a letter from his ex-wife.
If you knew enough to bring evidence, and you knew that this was one of the allegations, Ms. Duran,
I didn't know.
how many calls to Child Protective Services did she make altogether?
Exactly, I don't know. There's been some that they didn't allow her to do the protective orders, but there's been 3 protective orders put against me or Mr. Park.
Can I see them, please?
Yes.
Were they temporary restraining orders?
Yes, ma'am.
Any one of them culminate in a final protective order?
No, ma'am.
She filed,
They've all been dismissed
and
or...
that's
May I see them,
from
please?
DCFS. And also there's a dismissal in there that Ms. Duran has filed once again to dismiss the case?
Well, the only reason why I filed through them anyways is because for my son's sake and for his safety.
Nothing came of your
No,
of your
nothing came of
allegations.
it, but-
Nothing came of your
Yeah.
allegations. Children's Services followed through with each of your allegations, and nothing came of it. The children still remain with their father. Is that right?
Yeah, but
Right.
they don't want to.
I guarantee you, madam, if your children didn't want to be with their father, they wouldn't be with their father. They're 13 and 15
Well, they're-
I'm speaking. They're 13 and 15 years old.
Yeah.
And if your children didn't want to be with their father, they would not be.
And that's why my kids threaten now to run away, that they're going to
Listen
run
to
away.
me very carefully, Ms. Duran. You abdicated your role as a mother 9 years ago by allowing your children to stay for the last 9 years with their father. They don't want to be with you. They're 13
Yeah,
and
is that why-
speaking. They're 13 and 15. They have been interviewed by Child Protective Services on no less than, I'm speaking, listen, try to open up your ears.
I
Put on your
am.
listen-
They are
Put
open.
on your listening
I
ears.
am.
They have spoken to Child Protective Services in the privacy of offices, not around your former husband or his companion. If they wanted to be in your custody at their age, the court would listen to them. They do not want to be in your custody. They have had an opportunity on no less than 3 occasions, according to these 3 reports.
They didn't ask them if they wanted to come and live with me. They asked them what I reported to them and what was going on.
Are you listening to
Yes,
me
I
very
am.
carefully, Ms. Duran? When your children were asked whether they were being abused,
Does it-
I'm speaking, neglected, or in any way put upon by either their father or his companion, neither one of them said that they were. Neither one of them, when they had the opportunity of speaking in private to child protective workers, said to the worker, I really would prefer to live with my mother. They don't have to ask that question. Children who are 13 and 15 are more than capable of making that statement without it being as a result of a question being posed to them, Ms. Duran. They
I
don't
know
want to
that.
go and live with you.
Boyfriend Ryan Park claimed Michael's ex-wife, Marie Duran, filed false charges with Child Protective Services. Michael also says Marie is a deadbeat mom.
Listen, it sounds to me, Mr. Valdez, that your children have been through a great deal.
Yes, I agree.
A great deal as a result of their mother's behavior, and a great deal as a result of your behavior as well. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, that is a fair statement.
I mean, without going into particulars, you've been married twice, as far as I know. You
Yes.
finally got your identity straight, right? Now you know what it is, so you're not going to get married again. I assume that that's true.
That's true.
But your children have borne witness to the whole process.
Yes.
So, your children have certain emotional scars as a result of all the processes that they've seen. Their mother's neglect, their father's searching, and whatever happened during the course of that process. And I assume that if your children aren't in counseling, that they will be.
They have been, and the counselor said that he didn't see a reason to see him any longer.
Good. How long
I
were they in
called the
counseling?
counselor
I'm
and he
speaking. How long were they in counseling?
6 months.
When?
It was been over a year. And currently they are both seeing the psychiatrist at their individual schools.
Ms. Duran, I am going to suggest to you, madam, that if you were smart, you would petition the court to allow you to be engaged in conjoint therapy with your 2 children so that they can let you know in the presence of a therapist exactly how they feel. Would you have any objection to that?
No, ma'am.
I'm certain that it would be good for the children.
I agree.
And if she doesn't want to do that, that's her prerogative. But listen to me. You don't have a case against her. She doesn't like your lifestyle. She doesn't like what she hears. I assume that it's over. You're not going to file any more reports, are you, madam? I certainly hope not. Listen
The
to
only
me.
reason
I
I
certainly
did it for
hope.
my
I'm
son's
speaking.
safety.
You cannot listen to me when your mouth is moving. I certainly hope that before you file any other reports or call in reports to Child Protective Services, you will follow my good advice.
I will.
And petition the court
I will.
for an order allowing you to see the children twice a month. And you set up and you pay for conjoint therapy with your 2 teenage children so that they can let you know what problems they have with you and what they would like to see you do to be more of a mother to them. Do you understand? Good. If you don't understand, she doesn't understand. That's a vacant look. I assume that means either she understands or she doesn't understand, but she doesn't like what I have to say. Either way, this
Yes,
case is
I
over. Thank you
understand.
very much. Goodbye.
That's case number 4.
That he owes you some money.
Video player.